hilarious, much funnier than me. But
Well, I actually literally haven't heard too many people who are from this area who are much funnier than you. I have heard some hilarious people who were traveling around nationally. I wouldn't say that they're better than you, but most of the people who are the local comedians are far worse than you. Now, I don't mean to say that means they can't make it, because I've actually seen many comedians that I thought would go nowhere, several, maybe 2 or 3. And the next thing I know, they're opening for D.L. Hughley or maybe even like Wanda Sykes or something like that. People, like, I think this is astonishing. I heard this person and they were not funny at all, and now I'm on the other side of the country and I'm seeing them in a newspaper.
I've seen the same thing, yeah. I've seen it happen.
So I don't know how that works, but maybe it's also connections of some type.
That's mostly what it is.
Yeah.
Do you know Michael Atiyah?
I don't know him, but I did hear him lecture once. So when I was a graduate student, I participated in something called the Oxford Access Scheme. This was to help get non-traditional people, students, to consider going to Oxford, like ethnic minorities, but I think also like working class people too. And so it's the Oxford Access Scheme, and Michael Atiyah spoke at one of the events that they had, if I remember correctly, but I've never spoken with him. I have his Introduction to Commutative Algebra that I intend to read in the near future.
I saw an interview of him on YouTube, and he said there's kind of a little bit of aesthetic to math, and that is a brief, powerful statement, like equation or theorem or something. And he used the phrase, you can quantify aesthetics in math by looking at high density truth per unit word.
Okay.
That was so lots of truth packed into a small statement.
Okay.
Is what he uses to judge the aesthetic of math. And I noticed that in math, they try to give you the most important fundamental information, and they cut out a lot of the unnecessary stuff. Do you know what I'm talking about?
So what would you mean by unnecessary stuff, or what do you mean by unnecessary stuff?
Like math text is very it's not pompous. Do you know what I mean?
No.
Pompous means like unnecessary flowery language.
Okay, yeah. Although in the 19th century they did write that way.
Oh,
so
okay.
if you look at some of the writings of Sylvester, one of his papers is on the hitherto undemonstrated fundamental theorem of, and then, so it's some long title. But today they don't write that way.
Yeah, it's very a lot of meaning and substance, but not a lot of how do you say this? How do you say that? Like flowery language, I guess. Yeah. Is that what? Do you know where that comes from? Is that just trying to get the point across as easily as possible?
Well, like I say, this seems to be a more modern development. But in general, a lot of scientists today are not like the scientists of yesteryear. So you could have people like, I think it was Schrödinger who wrote, What is Life? Or was it Heisenberg? But, or you look at Einstein's essays. Do you know any physicists who could write like Einstein today? The answer is no. There aren't any people who are making contributions to physics who could write like Einstein. And this wasn't even his native language. There are people who have decided to become science popularizers. Sure, they could probably write better, but those people didn't make any contributions to physics. They may have trained as physicists, but then they decided to go into writing. So I think that just had to do with the fact that mathematicians and scientists today aren't like the people from 50, 60, 80, 100 years ago.
They weren't as like romantic about it.
Yeah, they weren't as well educated, I think.
Okay, in those areas, like
Yeah, and just
writing and stuff.
numerous areas. Yeah.
You think that could be a reason why math gets such a bad rap in today?
I don't think so. I think many people just can't do it. The people who do know it, it came easily to, so they can't really explain to others. And at the school level, we know that I think in New York City, something like 30% of math teachers are not certified in math, something along those lines. And many of the people teaching math are uncomfortable teaching it. That gets communicated to the students. And then there's this move for everything to be fun. They don't have this in China. You learn it, or you are shaming your ancestors. But here, they want everything to be fun. We even did it with our Verizon-funded program. I was teaching the math bit, but the person in charge wanted me to talk about how fun it was going to be. It wasn't going to be fun, actually. I mean, I decided to be a team player, so I called it fundamental mathematics. But it's not fun. It should be. I enjoy it, but these are little kids. They should understand that they just need to do it.
I see. Give me 1 second. Is that reading?